Hello and welcome into this week's Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind show right here on Racing News Now. As always, I'm your host, Garth Allen. Thank you once again for joining me today. If this is your first time catching a Racing News Now video, consider going down below to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from RNN. On today's Cup Rewind, we're looking back at Sunday's 23rd Annual O'Reilly Auto Parts 500, 334 laps, 501 miles, around the 1.5-mile Texas Motor Speedway in Fort Worth, Texas. 5 caution flags in this race for a total of 29 laps. Really tame race. First one came at lap 16 for the 20 of Erik Jones spinning in turn 2. That was the only incident in stage number 1. That ended at lap 85 with Joey Logano taking the stage victory. Lap 150, the 42 of Kyle Larson made heavy contact with the wall in turn number 2, and that would be the end of his day. Lap 170, the end of stage 2, Denny Hamlin would be your stage 2 winner off of a bit of pit strategy. Everybody else really pitting before the end of the stage. In the normal cycle of pit stops, Denny staying out a little bit longer to specifically get the stage win. Final caution of the day, only one in stage number 3, came at lap 256 as the 8 of Daniel Hemrick wrecked in turn 2. 26 lead changes in this race among 13 drivers, most of those of course coming in cycles of green flag pit stops. Being that there weren't many cautions, we did have a good number of green flag pit stops in this race. 66 laps were led by Kyle Busch. That was the most on the day. 60 laps, though, went to Jimmie Johnson. 45 laps were led by Denny Hamlin. 35 laps led by Chase Elliott. Let's see. 15 laps were led by William Byron. 10 laps went to Martin Truex. 9 laps led by Daniel Suarez. 8 laps went to Joey Logano. 5 laps led by Austin Dillon. And 3 laps apiece went to Aric Almirola and Clint Bowyer. Oh, Ryan Blaney also led 45 laps on the day. Kind of hard to miss that one, but he was well down the running order. Anyway, on to the results for the day. Denny Hamlin would take the victory in this one, his second win of the season. A bit of pit strategy getting him this win as well. Green flag pit stops taking place among the leaders with about 10 or 15 laps to go. Hamlin only taking a splash of fuel, just enough to get to the end, no tires. And that was the difference, because Clint Bowyer, right before these pit stops, was tracking Hamlin down. He had gotten to Hamlin's bumper, but Hamlin only taking fuel and just enough fuel to get to the end was the difference here, as he stretched out that lead on Bowyer plenty enough off of that to take the victory. Bowyer came home in the second position, his best finish of the season. His teammate Daniel Suarez in the third position, a great run for Daniel, his best run of the season as well. Erik Jones in fourth, and Jimmie Johnson rounds out the top 5. Didn't quite win like I predicted on the preview show this morning, but did have a really good run. The rest of your top 10 were William Byron, Aric Almirola, Kevin Harvick, Kurt Busch, and Kyle Busch. 11th through 20th, Martin Truex down here in the 12th position. Chase Elliott had a great run on the day. We talked about him leading 35 laps. 13th would be where he would land after everything was said and done. 1 lap off the pace in 17th was Joey Logano. Alex Bowman down here in the 18th position. 21st through 30th, Bubba Wallace came home in 23rd. Matt DiBenedetto in 26th. And final page, 31st through 39th, Daniel Hemrick. We talked about his incident. He was running at the end of the race, albeit 10 laps off the pace in 33rd. Brad Keselowski, 36th on the day after having some mechanical issues early. Was able to get back out on the track, but many laps down. Ryan Blaney had some overheating issues in the mid-portions of the race. 225 laps would be what he would complete after having a great car. 5th in the first stage, 2nd in the second stage. We talked about him leading 45 laps, but overheating would be his demise on the day. And then Kyle Larson, with his accident on lap 147, came home shotgun on the field in 39th. All right, so that's your results from the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500. So let's head over to the Media Center. We will see what Denny, crew chief Chris Gabehart, and owner Joe Gibbs had to say after this one.
Very difficult decision to wrestle with. That's what I'm going to say. But no, for our car and the performance and kind of everything we were seeing, it was very not necessarily track position oriented race, because we found a way to give that away a lot in the race, but minimum time on pit road, and for our scenario each time, it just made the most sense. Unfortunately, it worked out. Yeah, I mean, NASCAR's done a good job of making everything pretty black and white on that. Of course, in the heat of the battle, it's my job to argue our case, especially when I think it's close. And in that case, we felt like it was, but the call didn't go our way. And at that point, you got to play the ball where it lies and rebound, regroup, and Denny and the team did a good job of that.
Yeah, I think what happens in our sport, you get on a hot streak, and then we all know in pro sports the hardest thing is to stay up there. And so I would say that some of those others are knocking on the door. I think there were some teams today that had a chance, but they made mistakes. And so I think it's just one of those things right now. But we're thrilled to be a part of it. I'll tell you that. And I hope we can find a way to stay up there. But in pro sports, we all know the hardest thing is to stay up there week in and week out, because we got so many really good cars, many good owners, and good competitors. It's the best racing in the world.
I missed both. We ran out of fuel. I know, it's amazing.
We
ran out of fuel early
day.
in the race. I passed pit road and we ran out. That cost us, I don't know, 6, 7. It was a lot. It seemed like a lot. I lost the straightaway to everybody else.
327 cars by my count, but maybe not that.
And then I tried to come to pit road hot, and I about spun out, and I had to let off the brake to keep from spinning out, and then I knew I wasn't going to make pit road, so I had to check up and then lose another 4 or 5 seconds under another green flag sequence, and then I was just beating my head against the steering wheel thinking, man, we're going to finish bad with a really fast car, and we just kept digging, and Chris kept doing a good job on encouraging us that we had a long way to go, and we kept passing cars, and I think at some point we passed everyone for sure. But once we got the clean air in the front, the 20 pulled off for his pit stop. It allowed me to be more aggressive with the way I was driving, and then we made a really good adjustment there at the end that got our car better. So really the only time our car kind of struggled handling-wise was when we were in that pack of 3 with our teammates. And had we had the balance we had earlier in the day, I felt like we could have probably got around them. But certainly we were we had a great car all day, just a bunch of hiccups in the middle of it, and we just we're fast enough to overcome everything that kind of got thrown at us.
Obviously, this rules package was one of the intentions was to kind of close the gap with the field or keep the field closer at times. The leader didn't get way out away. Without this rules package, do you win this race with these penalties and issues playing out?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I mean, as fast as our car was, I mean, maybe not, but certainly, our car was really reliant on drafting, having somebody in front of me to run fast lap times. But once I could control the pace and I got out front there in stage 2, I thought we were able to pull away as good as anyone from the pack. That just told me how fast our car was. I was able to drive it more aggressively, and then from that point on, I really thought I figured something out inside the car that made me be able to be more aggressive even in traffic than what I was earlier in the day. Yeah, I don't know. It's so different now. I mean, it is so different. You when you go to these racetracks, you can't look at past winners and past trends and histories. All that stuff is just no good anymore. You got to just start from scratch, and we're all learning together.
And we'll take a quick look at your playoff grid before wrapping up here today. Not a lot of changes here. The 16 drivers that were in the playoffs after last week have not changed. Nobody in, nobody out. All the same drivers in. A little bit of moving, though. Clint Boyer up a couple of spots, displacing Kyle Larson and Ricky Stenhouse both down a spot. And then Daniel Suarez and Eric Jones swapping spots around Jimmy Johnson. Johnson stayed stationary in 15th, while Suarez gained 2 to 14th and Jones lost 2 to 16th. The gap there at the cutoff line, though, extending this week. It was only a point after last week, but now it is a 13-point gap from Eric Jones in 16th to Austin Dillon in 17th. So the gap widening just a bit here at the cutoff line. We'll see down the stretch if that continues to widen or if it shrinks back up again. But that's a quick look at your playoff grid following the O'Reilly Auto Parts 500, and I believe that will do it for us on this Cup Rewind show. We have a winner interview with K&N Pro Series West winner from Saturday night, Trevor Huddleston, coming up here at some point. This will end up being after midnight, so it'll be at some point today on Monday. Should be sometime early afternoon if you're on the East Coast here. I'd say probably around 2 or 2:30 is when that will go up, roughly, as long as things stay according to plan. And then, of course, pole position coming up this evening, 8 p.m. Eastern, to recap you on everything that happened this weekend very quickly, not just in the world of NASCAR, but in all the major forms of motorsports. But if you haven't done it already, you need to go down below, hit that subscribe button, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss a thing going forward from R&N. And while you're down there, why don't you hit that big thumbs up button if you like the video? It is much appreciated when you do. But at that, this has been the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series Rewind Show. I'm Garth Allen for Racing News Now.